Hey guys, in this video we'll be continuing with the video tutorials. So we'll be working on scope again and moving on to some other function concepts. So if I haven't already mentioned a variable scope is a part of the program in which the variable may be accessed. So a variable is visible only to statements in the variable scope. A local variable scope is a function in which the variable is created. So we'll just do this example code. It's a birds example, so it just demonstrates local variables again to show that the function can have local variables with the same name. So I'll just delete this stuff here. So here we'll say we'll call it def main. So we'll define a main function here. So then we'll say we can come back. So let's just comment this out for a sec. So we'll say, okay, well, we want to define a function named Texas, or we could say Utah. So here, okay, we'll define a function named Utah, and then we'll say, okay, we'll hit enter. Then we'll say birds points to 10,000. So then here we'll say print, we'll call the print function, we'll say, okay, well, Utah has birds, we'll call the birds variable. Excuse me, and then we'll say, we'll just write another string birds. So here we'll say, yeah, so we said, we have our function there. And here we'll say, we'll define another so we had our function here. We could change the birds itself. Actually, instead of changing the birds, let's define another function here. So we'll say def Arizona, and we'll say here birds points to, let's say they have slightly less birds. Maybe less than that. So we'll say we have 6,000 birds in Arizona. Then we'll say, we'll do the same thing. We'll say, we'll print a string here. Arizona has, sorry, I can't type today, so we'll say Arizona has, close the string, call birds. Then we'll say Arizona again. No, whoops, birds. So in this case, we have two variables here that are different. Two local variables. So we can say birds is a local variable. Its scope is Arizona. And we have here birds is a local variable. So it's a different local variable. Its scope is Utah. That means only Utah can access it. Only other things in Utah can reference it. In the last video, I showed you how to pass the locals to the globals, and if you want to access them different ways from different functions. So if you want to access birds from another function, this birds, which is local to Utah. In Arizona, you can pass it through a global. You could, excuse me, as we said before, we could say like birds here. Then we can reference like we could call it global birds or something. We could say global birds points to birds and then pass it back here, or we can make this a value returning function as we did in the last video. So we'll go over value returning functions again later on. So after all that, we can say we can call the actually sorry, we didn't do the main yet. So can we define main here? Might be able to. Main usually goes at the top though. Yeah, main usually goes at the top, so we'll just stick with that. You might be able to put it on the bottom if you really want to. So we could say, okay, we want to call Utah. We do that by just again referencing the function name with parentheses, and then here we want to call Arizona. So we'll just say once again this is a function call. Same thing here, function call. So then at the bottom, after all that, we're going to call main. Like that, and then we get to step through it, but you guys know pretty much how to step through. We know what's happening, we've done this before. Maybe I should have stepped through the last video, but it was explained it pretty well. So we just printed out simply we have 10,000 birds. Utah has 10,000 birds. Utah has birds was the number, because birds was actually an integer. So we printed the integer and then birds. So you can do that. You can print numbers in an output and print strings beside them. Output's not going to know which one it is. Normal people will just think it's a sentence. A normal app users will just think it's a sentence, so it doesn't really matter. So then here we print also Arizona has 6,000, because birds is pointing to 6,000, and then we said birds here. Again, we just call the string birds. So there you go. We'll move on to the next one here. So we'll go over passing arguments to functions. So an argument is, or in other words, a parameter. So an argument is called a parameter as well. So it can be either or. So an argument is any piece of data that is passed into a function when the function is called. So let me just repeat that. An argument is any piece of data that is passed into a function when the function is called. So a parameter is a variable that receives an argument that is passed into a function. So they're the same thing. In Python they may be slightly different, but generally they're usually the same thing. So a parameter is a variable that receives an argument that is passed into a function. Parameter is a variable that receives an argument. So I believe in Python it's slightly different. They're saying you can have a variable that passes the argument to the variable, which is a parameter. But in other languages, they're just all called parameters or arguments. You can use them interchangeably, I believe. So sometimes it is not only useful to call the function, but also to send one or more pieces of data into the function. So that's what the arguments are. In this case, in Python, we'll just stick with arguments then. So actually, no, I think it is the same here. Sorry to confuse anyone, but it says a parameter is a variable that receives an argument. So I think that it is the same. Just this definition is wording it a little bit oddly, so that's okay. So we'll just continue with that. So then we'll say here, the definition here is basically you can send one or more pieces of data into the function as we did in the last video, but we'll do an example here. Pieces of data that are sent into a function are known as arguments, or parameters, basically. The function can use its arguments in calculations or other operations. You can pass parameters around to different functions. You can pass them to the main, pass it to, like for example here, Arizona, you could pass them to the locals, all that. You can get input through a parameter. So if continuing here with the definition, if you want a function to receive arguments when it is called, you must equip the function with one or more parameter variables. So yeah, it's the same thing. An argument is a parameter. Just to clear up the confusion, in Python it's still a parameter argument. That's the same thing 100% exactly. That's why I was like, well, what was I reading when I learned my other languages? So yeah, that's true. It's all the same. So we'll go over that in a sec if you're confused. So a parameter is a special variable that is assigned the value of an argument when a function is called. So here is an example of a function that has a parameter variable or takes arguments into the function. So we'll just do this code here. So in this case we have a main. So what we can do here is we can just say, we'll just delete this here. Whoops, what happened there? Okay, we'll take that out. So we'll define a main here. And we'll say value points to 5. Or just say val points to, like, actually we say val points to 10. Then we'll say, we'll call, say we want to call show double. Or we can call get double, actually. It's not going to know what it is, so let's just comment it out for a sec. So get double, we'll pass val here. So this is a parameter here. So get double is a function we haven't created, but we will create it. But in this case, it's going to pass this val here to the function call. So when that happens, when this val is passed into the function call, then this val is going to be transferred to the actual function definition. So I'll comment this out and show you guys what happens here. So what's going to happen here is we're going to define the function here called GetDouble. Sorry, we're gonna define it. So we're gonna say def get double, like that. And here we're gonna say, okay, well, get double is gonna take a val. So we could say that it's a number val, or it's an int val. You could change the names or keep them the same. I think I'll show both ways here so no one gets confused. I believe Python can keep the names the same. So after that, here we'll say so we can say, okay, well, we can say that the number val points to int val, which is a parameter. We could say we want to take it to the power of 2. So in this case, then we'll print the result. So we'll just print number val. I know some people are watching this like, what the hell is this guy doing? Goddamn idiot, he's not even explaining. Don't worry, don't worry, I'm gonna explain right now. So I'm just gonna say, I know that can be annoying when you're learning something, you don't get it. So we'll explain it in a sec. I'm just gonna write this out first. So here we're gonna say, okay, so we're gonna print the number val. So I'll show you what's happening in one sec. Then here we'll call the main function here at the end. Okay, so what's happening here is we have main. So this is the actual program starts here. So then program goes here for step 2. So program starts here, then we got our main function call, then execution. So that's step 1. Step 1, program starts here in main. We call main, starts at the main function. So then in this case, we define main. Then step 2 is execution moves here to main. So then in this case, we have a local value named val, which points to 10. So it's an int. And we say, okay, well, get the double. So we're gonna so now we'll take that hashtag out then. So what's happening here is we're calling a function call right here. So this is a function call. You guys have seen that at this point if you guys have been watching the tutorials, the Python, the whole series. So function call. I'd start off at the beginning if you haven't seen those, so you know what's happening, because I explain them bit by bit in each video. So here we're calling a function call, and we're passing main local val to get double function. So we're calling this is a function call. We're passing main local val, which is this. It's a local val to main. It's like it's in the main function's local val variable. We're passing that main local val variable to the getDouble function. So in this case, you just think of an arrow going directly like a square arrow, or a arrow going like this. So it's literally passing, or like a rounded arrow, whatever, passing that 10 into this function here. So we're saying, okay, well, we want to pass val, which is 10, which is an int. We want to pass it to getDouble. So now getDouble, when we call the function call, it's going to carry that val, which is an int, holding the value 10, right? So it's going to pass val to getDouble. So it's going to call getDouble and say, okay, getDouble, we're passing you that value, right? So we're passing that value. Now in getDouble, it's getDouble in the definition. What it's going to do is it's going to say, okay, well, I take a value. So if it takes a value, that means it took a value here, because getDouble took a value right here. It took value right here. It took a val here, right? So it said, okay, well, this is getDouble. We're calling it here. It's taking a value. We're passing the value to it. 10 got passed here. We passed val. We typed val here. Then now we pass it here by typing again in the function parameters. This is a function parameter, as we said. It's an argument. Val is an argument or a parameter. We're calling getDouble. We're now passing val into the argument or the parameter when we call the function. Now, in the first line of getDouble, it can now reference the value that was passed. So that's the point here. So we could say, okay, well, now we're going to create a local local variable to point to int val, which is our parameter, or in this case, val. So we could say, I keep the names the same, so I'll just say, okay, I'll just call this one val2. So I keep it simple. I believe in C, I think you can, sometimes it may, depending on the condition. Sometimes in C you can't name them the same, because there's no this, you can even name these ones exactly the same here. You could have, I think there's a way to do it in Python, we'll go over that later. But here, in this case, we could just say val. We can call them both val at this point. Pretty sure we could have called them all val, but we'll go over that later. Just to make it clear here so no one gets confused. We have, this is a local val, we've gone over that. Local val to main, and now this is basically the same thing being passed. Oops, I forgot that. Semicolon. So we're passing. So once again, we're initializing a number val here, and we're pointing it to val to the power of 2. So we're saying, okay, well, number val points to val, which is 10, because 10 got passed here. You guys should understand that at this point. If you don't, just maybe you start the video again when we started this. So keep watching until you get it, keep reading until you get it. That's the best thing to do. So that may happen. You may see that you may not understand it right away, but after you read about 10 times, you may understand it. So that's happened to me like 1,000 times. Like I've thought I couldn't understand it at all. I was like, oh, I don't really understand it. I can't figure it out. And after reading it about 10 times, I finally understood. So in this case, you guys can do that too. So here we're just saying number val. We're creating a variable number val, and we're pointing it to the value passed. And now we're taking that value passed and taking it to the power of 2. So it's going to be 10 to the power of 2, which is just 10 squared is 100. So number val points to 100. Print number val. So let's show this in the debugger here. So we said that we put the breakpoint here. I'll put a breakpoint here on line 1. Actually, I'll put one here too, just in case. I'll save it, Control S, and I'll hit the debug icon in the top right corner. Alright, so we had program starts here. And we'll just say this is step 3. So we'll step into main, because we started here. Main starts here, so it jumps here. The code execution, then it's going to jump into here. Whoops, were we already there? So we'll step, whoops, I think maybe I stepped over, that's why. Okay, so we'll jump into main here. Why is it skipping that? It shouldn't skip that. I think it's getting confused with these breakpoints. Once again, we'll try that main. Okay, we'll jump in here. There we go. Yeah, so the Python interpreter gets confused when you put too many breakpoints, so be careful with that. I've never had that problem in other languages. You could put a breakpoint on every line, it'll know where to go, which is interesting. So yeah, I'll just restart that. So here I'll step into main. Now we're in main, so now value points to 10, so I'll step over it. And you can see for our local variables we have value pointing to 10. Now we can click on different functions to get our variables. So here we can click on main. So now we have a value which is an int which points to 10. So now we're going to call GetDouble. It's going to pass in 10 as a parameter, as we said. It's going to bring it to the GetDouble definition. It's going to pass it to that definition. And as we saw, you can name them different things. You can name them the same. So here we'll have, so we'll step in here to the function GetDouble. It's going to pass in the 10, the val. So here we have a GetDouble, a main. So we have two functions with different variables. So here we can say number val points to val, which is 10 times to the power of 2. So notice if I click the different functions, we have our variables changing. We have our variables here for that function. We have our variables here for that function. So here we're in GetDouble. Here we're in, so we're in GetDouble. Now I'm going to print number val. So it's going to output the value. And there you go. So we got the value, and the function was over. So the program ended. It terminated with a exit code of 0, right, in that case. So there you go. Hopefully that you guys now learn how to pass parameters. So we'll go over soon if we can name this this variable the same. So there should be a keyword where we can reference that variable. So we'll go over that in a sec. So yeah, so hopefully you guys, you know how to pretty much pass parameters. So we passed parameters from main into GetDouble, and then we referenced that variable, that parameter, in number val, and we printed it. So yeah, so there you go. Hopefully you guys enjoy the tutorial. So hopefully you guys learned something. If you guys like the video, you can give it a thumbs up. If you guys want, you can subscribe to the channel. And if you guys want to see more programming videos, investing videos, anything, coding, trading, making trading robots, coding anything pretty much, you can subscribe to the channel, and let's see you guys next time. Take care. Thanks for watching.